Handshakers, welcome. Did Jack or Danny sit in this chair just now? No. Oh, devastated. I've just seen their luggage. I got excited about it. What's happened to me? Welcome, everybody. Lovely to see so many people here this morning. Welcome to the 2018 Edinburgh TV Festival, where we're here today to host one of the festival's first controller sessions. And they don't come much bigger than this. BBC One, the UK's most watched television channel. We're here today, we're going to be with Charlotte Moore to discuss what the future has in store for BBC One. And later, Charlotte's going to be joined by a stellar lineup of 4 genre heads, all having a good gossip and catch up backstage, ready to come and meet you. But before we meet them, we'll have Charlotte to ourselves to hear her vision for the channel moving forward. But before we look forward, I think we should look back at the last year. BBC One, here are some of your best bits. Please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, the BBC's Director of Content, Charlotte Moore.
One kiss is all it takes, falling in love with me.
Welcome, darling. Lovely. You're not dancing to Dua Lipa.
I'm not going to do a
I understand. I understand. Real wide range of shows, Charlotte. What really stands out for you from BBC One last year?
Gosh, as you can see, I look at that and I go, there's so many great shows that come flooding back. I suppose it's the range, as ever, and in each genre, I think some of the things I'm proudest of is, you know, there was Blue Planet, biggest show, reached lots of young, but also inspired the nation to do something about plastics. But then you've got a fantastic three-parter like Stephen Lawrence this year, which, you know, stripped across a week, felt like such an important story to tell. If I think about drama, you know, seeing Dr. Foster there and, you know, bringing back a show like that, which was, again, talked about by everybody. And then A Very English Scandal, which was one of those absolute jewels in the schedule recently. Amazing cast with Hugh Grant and Ben Whishaw, but, you know, with Russell and Stephen, you know, behind it as well, Stephen Frears. So it's again that range, I think, and the people making that big talking point for the audience. Obviously, I've had the Royal Wedding.
The Royal Wedding, which we all watched and sobbed.
So thinking about, you know, if you look at One Love Manchester, but that ability for BBC One to really get people behind those big national events and it makes sort of must-see appointment to view watching. Comedy, I think probably my best comedy moment was the return of Car Share and the way that Peter Kay kept us all waiting for that last, again, talked about, everybody much anticipated, everybody very, very excited. And entertainment, Michael Mack's show, seeing that, you know, get bigger and bigger. Love the Midnight Game Show.
It's my daughter's favourite TV show.
And my daughter's.
She loves it. She's obsessed with him.
I know. She keeps saying, Mum, get him to come and get Dad. And I'm like, no. So, you know, I think the Midnight Game Show, and then, you know, great doing All Together Now, launching a big new show. Strictly, you know, it grew last year to be the biggest entertainment show, which again, I'm incredibly proud of when, you know, a show's been going for that long and every year that team put the most extraordinary effort into it. So I think, in all the genres, it's hard to, there's too many good shows to mention, but I have to say, it's that range across each genre that, you know, makes me think that was a good year.
Okay, so you've got to follow that. Yeah. You've got to, you know, even more amazing next year. What is your creative vision for BBC One over the next 18 months?
So to try and sum it up, I suppose you look back and you go, take from that what really kind of defined the channel and then think, right, what can we do that totally moves it on to the next stage in terms of genres moving into areas we haven't done before, you know, taking those risks, pushing boundaries, really trying to create those talked about moments. Maybe if you look at the autumn coming up, that gives you some clue, I think, about what that means in the next year. And obviously we're commissioning now into 19, 20, 21. So, you know, we're constantly reinventing. But it's to say, don't just think, oh, well, that works, so we'll do the same. That sounds obvious, but really try and interrogate what's the sell on this idea which takes us to the next stage, because that's what we're here to do. Yeah. We're here to do the shows that no one else has dared to yet. We're here to take the risks. So if I look forward in drama, we've got Wanderlust. It's a great relationship, very modern relationship drama that then deals with the taboo of monogamy in marriage. It goes, you know, it's really fun. It's a really fantastic tone, which I'm sure Piers can talk about in a bit. The Informer, a tone that I don't think we've seen on BBC One by two new writers, Rory and Sarab, who have, with a new talent in the lead role. It's a really fascinating take on modern Britain, told through a really exciting thriller. The Bodyguard coming up, again, Jed Mercurio, Line of Duty. He's not just coming back with the next Line of Duty. We've got his new piece, which I'm incredibly excited about. It's probably looking after those big shows that we know. So we never sit on our laurels. So anyone coming back with a returner, whether it's Ambulance, we're now saying, now what? How do we move Ambulance on? And we're taking that to Manchester and Liverpool next. And then thinking about, so if Ambulance has done really well, what would be that big new show that would have that same real life drama played out in front of us? And I think in comedy, we've got Still Game coming back, we've got Still Open All Hours, lots of stills, and then we've got Alan Partridge on the channel, we've got a new sitcom again. I am not scared to launch new talent or new shows right in the heart of the schedule, and I think that is what BBC One has to do.
Yes,
we've done it in the last year,
Yeah.
but again, that doesn't mean we're only doing it for the last few years. We will be looking at, right, what's new, where's the new faces, where's the new subject, where's the new genre, and that would be across every genre.
Okay.
The Greatest Dancers, obviously, the big new entertainment show that we're doing, as well as bringing back the shows that we feel are growing. But that, is a very exciting, big, new, it's got a very different tone, again, I think, to an entertainment show that we've done on one before. So trying to really encourage people to think big, don't censor yourself just because you think, oh, is that BBC One? Because we want to move BBC One.
You want to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I could go on, couldn't I?
You could.
It's a big question.
I'm getting very
It's a big
excited.
question.
Now, obviously, a big show that missing this year was Bake Off, now gone to Channel 4. Did you watch it? Did you miss it?
Look, I've made no, that was probably yesterday's news, wasn't it? But I've made no secret of the fact that when you have commissioned a show and nurtured it becomes the biggest show, it's obviously, it's very sad when it's not on your channel anymore. But with every show that moves on, whether that's The Voice, it gives you creative headroom. So it's a great thing for other producers because we've got money again, and we've got room in the schedule for big hits. We really want to grow shows. So, The Greatest Dancer, Michael Mack's show, All Round to Mrs. Brown's, all together now. I don't think those could have happened if we hadn't, moved on from The Voice. So I'm all about looking forward, and I think that's good for producers when, we need to grow new shows again.
And then also
we've got to grow hits, haven't we?
And you've got the magic of Winkleman and Berry,
What's
Britain's
not to
best
love?
home cook, recommissioned. I mean,
Yeah.
and that must be really important for you to, reinventing, like you said.
And I think, home cooking, I think is such a very British obsession. I think we are a nation of cooks at home. I think, the French, we know, are all about the big restaurant, aren't we? But there is something quintessential, it's very different, I think, to what we eat out in restaurants. And I think home cooking, we know, and more and more men that cook. I don't know about your household, but, my husband is the cook in the household.
Yes.
I think really tapping into that as a zeitgeist, and then it's fantastic having Mary, the Queen, and home cooking is absolutely her thing as well. So I think it's a great show, and it's great to be growing a new show on BBC One where you can really see the subject matter and the potential all coming together.
So with all the movers and shakers in this room, keen to bring you new ideas, what are you looking for? Are there any particular things that you're kind of sort of desperate for?
Look, we're quite a hungry channel because we're always commissioning ahead. And we're always, again, I also like to think we're a very reactive, fluid channel. It's a very live thing, the schedule. So I really don't commission in a way that goes, we've got these slots coming up and you need to fill these slots. It's really about the ideas, and we constantly think about where's the best place to play them. So in every genre, there is headroom. Obviously we have to make difficult decisions. I can't say yes to everything. But, please come with lots of great ideas and we will help try and nurture them and work out where is the best place to play them. So, in every genre, we're looking for new things.
Okay, this is good news. Where do you sit on striking a balance on BBC One between, ratings winners and public service pieces that might not rate so high, but obviously are very important to the channel?
Well, obviously, the sweet spot is where it's, it rings perfect, doesn't it? So whether that's Three Girls or Blue Planet or, there are shows that we do that absolutely we've done. I wasn't commissioning them, none of us were, because we thought these are going to be ratings winners. But when they end up also doing that and they have that impact, that's fantastic. I think also So the balance has to be there, but of course we're not driven by anything but, that kind of, I am driven to tell British stories for British audiences that I think are really important and relevant to our times. And that's really the decision making that goes behind a show. Okay. Clearly we then work really hard to go, how do we bring that to as big an audience as possible? Yeah. So I think I strike the balance by across those genres, because we've got a diversity of genre and we've got a diversity of different ways of telling those stories. I make sure that there is a balance. But the great thing is when it does both. That's what you're aiming for.
Obviously, talk about Blue Planet 2. Huge figures come in with that show. Everybody across the board loves it. But also the most watched series by 16 to 34-year-olds. Would you say that BBC One is doing enough to attract that audience? Is there a strategy in place to attract more of that age group? Well,
I think everybody in television knows that the choice that is out there for young people at the moment, it's never been greater. Mm-hmm. And the call on their time, is in more competition than it's ever been. So clearly, younger audiences are a big focus for us at the BBC, and particularly on BBC One. We're still the biggest channel in terms of reach for young, so we know that we reach a huge number of young people, 16 to 34s, in this country. But absolutely, I want to make sure, and again, that's probably when we think about what are you looking at, this is very key to a lot of the big ideas and where we're really putting our money, is to make sure that BBC One continues to be a real habit for a younger audience, that it's relevant to their lives and they feel they know what BBC One is. So trying to think about whether it's Blue Planet, whether it's shows like Eat Well for Less or Ambulance, The Apprentice, Strictly, these are all shows that I want to speak to a younger audience as well. And thinking about going forward how we find those new shows where they really tap into and it feels that that's a show for the next 10 years is absolutely key. I think Britain's Home Cook, one of the reasons we've recommissioned that is because we know younger audiences really, really enjoyed it, and that's really great. So we're always thinking about how do we make sure we address that balance and make sure that we're not, that we're kind of getting younger audiences to feel that BBC One is the place for them. One of the things that I was going to announce actually is that another way of doing, how do you make BBC One feel like a channel for younger audiences, is we're moving Peaky Blinders to BBC One. Ooh. You've heard that here now.
Just those two words, Peaky Blinders.
So Peaky became, last series was an absolute phenomenal cult viewing for a younger audience. It grew massively. Patrick Nice went, God, when a show really pops like that, it is, and it won its BAFTA last year, which is absolutely brilliant, or this year for last year. It feels like a really good moment to say, right, let's put Peaky Blinders on the biggest channel in the country. And I think that's a real signal for younger audiences as well, that BBC One is a channel for them.
Okay.
And Piers will talk to you about The Informer and some of the shows, drama that we're doing that we think.
Okay. Do you have to change much about plot lines to bring it across?
No, you just make Peaky Blinders.
Just make Peaky Blinders. Brilliant. That's good. Is there a change on how you should approach BBC One? I mean, there's more buyers in the market now. Does it mean you have to be warier about saying, well, maybe we'd be interested in this, because, or is it always kind of been that thing that there's so much competition around?
I think there's always been competition. I think at the moment, the expansion of the TV industry, because globally we found there's such interest in British content and British talent and British stories, I think that has, and also the multiple platforms which are now available, and the buyers that have grown. So I think there is an increased competition, and I think that does mean that we're having to be very clear about what makes something BBC and what we're looking for, and we're trying really hard to make sure that suppliers really understand what it is that makes something BBC. But I think, I find that competition both exciting. I think it's great for the industry, but I think it also puts the onus on us as public service broadcasters and as the BBC to make sure that we are here to protect British stories being told for British licence fee payers. And that's not to say that we won't make some big, hits that speak to a big global audience, but I'm very, very committed to making sure that we protect the creative industry we have in this country. Yeah. And that it isn't about people being brought up to move to America and only tell the stories. I want talent to know that we really want to speak to our audience on a platform that, can reach an enormous number of people.
And have you got sort of plans to work with any more of the FANGs on certain projects? Obviously, Piers will probably talk about some co-commissions.
Giri Hadji, that is the new BBC Two one, is the Netflix. We've got Black Earth Rising. We still do co-productions, but Netflix have been very clear that they want to more and more make their own shows. Yeah. And so, we are constantly thinking about how do we find third-party funding in other ways. That will still be a really important part, but also how can we make sure that we protect the shows that we really feel are important to our audiences. So, yeah, I think both.
Obviously, BBC making great strides on diversity. There it is, first mention of the D word. As seen by Tim Davies' recent findings. What else can you guys do at the BBC to increase diversity on and off screen?
Well, I'm really proud of what we have done. I think we've really championed, on screen. You know, we've had some great sort of changes. I think the channels do feel and look different, and we're really trying to make sure that's not just BBC One, that's all the channels. So we constantly look at that and try and work out now what can we do and how do we reach different groups. And I would also say that includes regional nations. It's about reflecting the whole of the UK and all of, diversity in the broader sense. So that's incredibly important to us. It's written into the charter. It's written into everybody, all of my team in commissioning, they all know it is for everybody to really think about how can I make sure that I do that? How can I make sure that I really create a greater on-screen diversity? I want to make sure it's become so business as usual for everybody. And I think, again, I would say to a lot of the suppliers we work with, I feel we really are always having those conversations. It is just a natural thing to discuss. I think off-screen, we need to work even harder. I think it's going to take longer to make the change. It's much harder off-screen. But again, we are doing all sorts of programmes, whether it's with writers or whether it's really trying to encourage when we commission something, we talk about, so can we get a diverse director on this, who is available? We'll absolutely wait for the right people. If we have to slow down a commission, that becomes really important to us. Clearly, we have to find the right people for the right projects, but we're doing a lot within commissioning as much as we can to try and help indies make sure that there is a diverse on-screen contribution to the series as well.
Okay,
can we do more? Yes. And I think the key for all of us is to go, it's not done. It's not, I think we're doing a great job, but I think in the next few years I want to see even more progress made so that we can see that. Piers in Broadcast, his article today was showing half of his commissions have been with women. That's great. How can we expand diversity beyond just the male-female quota? Let's really make sure, let's not just talk about it through those eyes, let's really make sure that we grow. And we've got some great commissions coming up.
Yeah. You did recently announce, actually, at the Creative Cities Conference in Leeds back in April that you wanted to rethink your nations and regions strategies by encouraging commissioning teams to spend more time in the nations and regions. Early days, but this is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've had probably 10 briefing sessions this year, and there's more coming in September. There's one in, I think it's Birmingham and Bristol. All of the commissioners, again, there are commissioners that, someone like Joe Street or Craig Hunter, they're absolutely based in the nations, or Gaynor, who is based in Scotland for drama. But we also, every commissioner, there's commissioners whose remit it is to really cover certain areas of Britain and make sure that they really have a constant dialogue with those producers. So for me, it's about making sure that we have a really sustainable, it's not about box ticking. We all together want to grow a sustainable creative industry around the different parts of the UK, and that's both in the nations and the regions. And it's great. Obviously, the changes at Channel 4, I think, will only help, because I think you've got to, if you're going to have sustainability for enough people to have enough work, you've got to have enough work, and you've got to have enough people, with enough projects to work on. So I think it's about taking a really holistic and a sustainable view and a really honest look at how can we make sure that we grow the creative sector all over the UK in a way that in 10 years these will feel like really strong hubs where people can make sure that they can work in that area.
Okay, brilliant.
And tell those stories, because really it's a creative imperative, isn't it? It's not it's actually driven by, if we want to tell authentic British stories about different parts of Britain, we need people who can really speak to that.
Brilliant. Good answer, Charlotte.
Thank
well
you
done.
much.
You get a gold star for being the first. Now, an area that you are incredibly strong in at BBC, of course, is drama, with BBC One last year having 7 out of the 10 highest rating dramas. I think we should binge on a little drama. Please welcome the controller of BBC Drama, Piers Wenger.
One kiss is all it takes. Fall in love with me.
One kiss is all it takes.
Please, I don't
Right, Piers, you get
dance
Dua Lipa
either.
too. One kiss is all it takes. We saw from the reel there, Piers, at the top of the session, 7 out of 10 of the top dramas last year. That is great news for you. I know you must be very, very proud of that. So what have you got high hopes for this coming autumn? There is a lot.
Yeah, between now and Christmas, we've just got the kind of dream schedule, I think. You know, we kick off Bodyguard this week and Wanderlust. You know, we're striking a real range of tones, so a really gripping, sophisticated thriller from Jed Mercurio into a contemporary relationship drama with Wanderlust. And later on, we've got The Cry, I think Jenna Coleman delivering a career-defining performance, and then Informer, which Charlotte has mentioned, which, you know, is a thriller, but has, you know, is really, really rooted in character and rooted in you know, diverse characters' experiences. So, yeah, it's great.
Yes, we've got Mike
Yes,
Barker's new show. I mean, it is a wealth of, isn't it? I mean,
It is, yeah.
Just think, and then we've got Killing Eve, which is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's new show coming as well in the autumn.
Okay, which is already
That's another
aired
one
in the States.
Yeah,
Up for
which
8
very
Emmys, I
nice,
think, already.
yeah,
I know. An MI5 agent becoming obsessed with a psychopathic assassin.
brilliant.
2 women. It just sounds brilliant. Also, I'm very excited about This Is Going to Her. Adam Kate's
Yes.
brilliant bestseller
Yes.
is going to be dramatised as well. Isn't
That's
it?
right, that's
Yeah.
going to be on BBC Two. It's been the Sunday Times bestseller list for like 15 weeks, #1. And Adam's adapting it himself with Sister Pictures. Yeah, it's a little way off, but it's really exciting.
Let's go back to Informer. What can you tell us about it?
So it is written by 2 new writers to TV. Their first original piece, Rory Haynes and Saurabh Nashravani. It stars a brilliant newcomer called Raban Nizwan, who plays Raza, who is a kind of hipster, basically. He lives with his family in sort of Shoreditch Tower Hamlets. He goes on a night out with his girlfriend. They go to a club, he gets arrested for possession, and as he, you know, as the police clock him and realise that where he lives, they inveigle him into spying on his own community because they believe there is some sort of terrorist plot taking place in his neighbourhood. But it's very rooted in character, it's very funny. It's just boys knocking about in East London. What's not to like?
Let's have a little teaser for everybody. A treat for you, this little clip from Informer. For you, is it British content for British viewers that works well on One?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we're here to do. We're here
Yeah.
to tell stories about Britain now and using British writers and actors to tell those stories. So, that's at the heart of what we do.
Okay, I'm moving on to Doctor Who. You were part of the team, Piers, that brought us Matt Smith, cast him as Doctor Who. Obviously, it's a big year this year for Doctor Who.
Huge,
The
yeah.
arrival of the first female Doctor in Jodie Whittaker. There are all kinds of rumours in cyberspace floating around about Series 11. We all wait like this on the edge of our seats. What's the most random rumour you've sort of heard about the upcoming series in the stuff lying around?
The thing about Doctor Who is there's always a rumour,
Yeah.
you know, and they're very, very rarely true. Chris has, you know, been extra specially careful about keeping as much information as he can under wraps, and you know, because what we all love about Doctor Who is turning up and not knowing where we're going, not knowing where the Doctor's going to be that week. So yes.
Very exciting.
I know, it's very exciting.
amazing,
indeed.
isn't
Well, how
it?
long do we have to wait? Can you give me dates?
Oh,
I know.
they always try and sneak
Tell
them
me
in, don't they?
anything.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads quite nicely on to the next question, again about diversity. We saw this week that you've tripled the number of diverse key creatives on Doctor Who this week. How important is diversity to you in drama on BBC One?
Incredibly important, but not as a sort of box-ticking
Yes.
thing. It's important to driving creativity. You know, we make a lot of drama on BBC, and it's out every week, and we need to keep surprising the audiences. And I think having a diverse range of creatives working on those shows keeps the content feeling fresh and keeps everyone interested.
Okay. The Fangs, big players in the drama market now. Has the presence of Netflix and Amazon made you feel sort of more pressure, or do you feel sort of great optimism for the world of TV drama at the moment?
I feel really optimistic about it. I think, you know, great writers still want to see their stories brought to life on screen and have the whole nation watching and talking about them on the same night. But I think, it isn't all about big budgets. There's a lot of big, splashy drama, available to audiences now. I think that, what we do is slightly different. It isn't always about those hugely budgeted pieces. It's as much about great writing and great stories that matter to people and have an emotional immediacy and are told in distinctive ways. And you don't always need massive budgets to do that.
Right, okay, fantastic. Very quickly as well, Les Mis.
Yes.
Les Miserables, but no songs.
No songs.
Okay, which some people will be happy about, some may be sad about. What can you tell us at this point?
It's got a brilliant cast.
Yeah.
Dominic West, Olivia Colman, Lily Collins,
Wow.
Dave DeYellow. Yeah, brilliant. It feels very real. It's all been shot on location, so no sort of sets. It's all shot in the places where the stories happened. It'll be a brilliant journey through that famous story.
And very much inspired by the novel.
Yeah.
It's taken absolutely from that rather than, the musical.
Okay, so a lot to be excited about, Piers. Thank you so much. Now, scripted drama, obviously very good, but what about real life drama? From Blue Planet 2 to Ambulance, BBC One's Factual output is best in show. To tell us more about the future of Factual on BBC One, please welcome BBC's Controller of Factual Commissioning, Alison Kirkham.
One kiss is all it takes. Falling in love with me. Possibilities. I look like all you need.
Alison, welcome. Lovely to see you. Alison and I actually met when our 3 children were involved in a love triangle on holiday. We had a little, holiday romance. They're quite young. I will keep you updated next year on any
If there's somewhere you
developments.
don't want to meet Zoe, it's in a swimming pool in a bikini, on my behalf, not yours. I was like, can we just go a little bit deeper?
But actually, our conversations on holiday did lead to Hardest Road home for me, which is a really important project that we got to do for Sport Relief and was really important in continuing that conversation on mental health. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And also, I think other shows that you have done so brilliantly, Rio Ferdinand being Mum and Dad, Chris Packham, Asperger's and Me. How important for you is talent when it comes to factual pieces, Alison, that could really help punch an idea through, I think?
Well, firstly, thank you for doing it, because I know how tough it was for you to do and how difficult the decision was for you to do it. And I'm proud of it, as I know you are, because I think it really was important in bringing about more of a conversation around suicide, which is still one of those taboo subjects. And I think that's always got to be the motivation for us in terms of embarking on them. I never want to commission a documentary with celebrity talent for celebrity talent's sake. The 3 you cite, for me, are the best examples. In Rio's case, in terms of bereavement, Chris has lived with Asperger's for his whole life. You obviously had a horrible experience. And all 3 of you, I think you can always tell when you talk to someone about their motivations for doing it. The why is really important. All 3 of you were clearly motivated by a desire to shine a light on a difficult subject that isn't discussed a lot. And for me, that's what's really gratifying about Factual on BBC One, because we have the ability to bring quite complicated, challenging subjects to a really broad mainstream audience. And I think we've demonstrated there's no need to patronise that audience. There's an appetite for complexity. So when there's that perfect intersection, often in quite tragic circumstances, of a well-known face that can make a difficult subject matter more relatable, then absolutely we're keen to explore the project. What I don't want is, I like X. Are you interested in a doc? I'm famous.
Okay, and you've got a project coming up with Vicky McClure.
Yes, we have. So Vicky McClure, we had conversations via Camilla Lewis's indie. Vicky has a grandmother who suffers from dementia, and music therapy has really helped her grandmother. And there's increasing science that demonstrates that the use of music therapy can really help people with dementia. And again, I went out for breakfast with her, and it was incredibly clear that, like you, her motives were all about shining a light on the subject. and it promises to be fantastic. And clearly it's a subject that we need to discuss more and more and explore more and more as it affects more people in Britain.
Okay, obviously one of the biggest names you have in your Factual talent ranks, Sir David Attenborough. We're very excited about the new show, Dynasties. We have an exclusive clip for you people. What more can you tell us about Dynasties at the moment?
So
Alison?
I'll tell you a little bit about the series
Yeah.
and explain the clip a little bit. So in Dynasties, we follow species that are both iconic and endangered. So chimpanzees, lions, tigers, painted wolves, and penguins. And it's an extraordinary project. I mean, with our natural history output, I hope what always singles it out is the scale and the ambition and the commitment. So the Natural History Unit have been following individual characters of those species over a period of 4 years. They've been filming for 4 years. We picked endangered species because you can see off the back of Blue Planet and Planet Earth, what we've managed to establish is a real conversation with our audience about conservation, and that feels like an important conversation to continue. The chimpanzees we filmed with there are in Senegal. David is the alpha male, and he was named by the scientists, not by us. He's not named after David Attenborough. I know, so it's a lovely, happy coincidence, but we're not naming them. They are all being worked with by scientists. And the males, the women in the pack they're just about to come into season, and so David's position is being threatened. And the series really is about how all these species are being threatened, both in terms of other animals, but also in terms of human behaviour. So part of the problem for the chimpanzees in Senegal is that the price of gold has gone up and the gold rush has affected their habitat. So what I love about it is it's really innovative in terms of how it's made, in terms of the filmmaking. And I think when you're coming off the back of Blue Planet and Planet Earth, it's never enough for us to just do the same. I think we've got to surprise the audience and challenge the audience in terms of form, challenge ourselves. And when you look at things like Ambulance and the sort of real life drama we bring to audiences in our documentary offer there, we're layering that same approach over to natural history, which I think is really interesting and effective. And I hope you'll all watch it. And when you do watch it, what's extraordinary after that clip is the scene where David is really seriously injured and the females in the pack come and tend him, and it's just the type of footage you've never seen before. It's really, really touching and emotional.
Yes, it really is.
Brutal.
And incredibly moving, but also also young audiences as well. They're going to love this, aren't they? Talk to us about Northumberland, new series for you. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so you and Charlotte were talking earlier about the ability to bring young audiences, and in Factual, we have titles like Eat Well and Shop Well and Ambulance, where we're seeing really strong 16 to 34 share, and that's hugely gratifying. And I think what they are responding to is that sense of real life drama, unmediated real life drama. And we're always looking for either new approaches to it or new precincts. So in Northumberland Cops, which is being made by 72 Films, who make great programs for us, we have really unprecedented access to the police force there. And I think, and they're struggling with sort of the range of issues they have to deal with, both urban and rural, are immense, and there are depleting numbers of police there. And what I think it will offer is the real sort of human story in terms of how you manage that, in terms of modern day policing. So it's exciting. 72 have made The Mighty Red Car for BBC Two coming up, and they are very good at delivering a different type of tone.
Okay. I want to talk more to each of you, but we've got so much, we've got 2 more people to get out, so thank you very much, Alison. Obviously, it would be rude of us to come all this way to the home of the Fringe at the moment and comedy in Edinburgh, and it'd be rude to come here and not have a bit of love. So to discuss what life looks like for comedy on BBC One, please welcome BBC's Head of Comedy, Shane Allen.
Knowing me, there is nothing we can do.
Aha! I know, I just couldn't help myself.
Are
Shane,
you,
welcome.
So you're not worried about the curse of this session?
You what?
There's a curse of this session because Richard Bacon did it last year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he was very hard on Charlotte.
I know.
Old Novichok Moore over there. Yeah.
He then did the wedding for us.
Yes, exactly.
He was part of the wedding
We love
lineup.
Richard. You book Richard Bacon, you know what you're going to get. And thank goodness he's all right. He really went through it, my goodness. Knowing me, knowing you, you're walking out to that. What can you tell us, Shane, about the return
Alan,
of
so
Mr.
Alan's been
Partridge?
in the wilderness after his homicide at the BBC, where he killed someone, on Norfolk Digital. So the internal logic story is Alan's been welcomed back. The BBC sort of lost touch with the common man in a Brexit Britain kind of way, and Alan is the voice of the future of Brexit
He's the
Britain.
answer.
He's the answer. So he hosts sort of a version of Don't Tell the One Show Team, but a magazine show with kind of mad gear shifts between items, and it's brilliant to have him back. It looks brilliant. And he's doing a session here on Friday morning.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. It sounds absolute genius. Especially in my job, sometimes you do find yourself in those, oh, I'm not even Partridge, but you do have those moments. It's terrible when you realise that. Your department responsible for huge hits over the past year. Fleabag, People Just Do Nothing, This Country, all winning lots of awards as well. Two things in common with many of these shows, Young Offenders, Motherland as well. Very, very funny, but not BBC One pieces. Is BBC One a hard, one of the hardest of the BBC channels to commission comedy for? Is there a different
in comedy? Definitely, because a lot of comedy people like discovering a show and a cult show, and it's launching new talent is sort of easier to do in the shed. BBC One, there's a lot of legacy talent. You have, we've got a Martin Clunes piece coming out. You've got Peter Kay, Sir David Jason, big names. But also, one of the things we're really keen to do is to kind of refresh and bring people through. So there's two big ways we do that. One's through the Comedy Playhouse, which we'll talk about in a second. We've got a new thing to announce. And also Christmas is a great time to try new things that then spin off into new. So last time we did Christmas Carol Goes Wrong and Peter Pan Goes Wrong with the theatre guys. So they're brand new to TV. So it's just a way for us to kind of always think about what we can bring people through. And in terms of a big challenge is female talent on BBC One. We've had Tracy Ullman this year, but when you look at the top writers that are coming through, people that you hope will be more mainstream, it's Sharon Horgan, it's Holly Walsh, it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge, it's Daisy May Cooper, it's Diane Morgan, it's all those people. So that's
good women there.
Yeah.
It is the biggest pressure, but also I guess the biggest prize, to land a broad BBC One comedy like Car Share, which Charlotte was talking about earlier.
Yes, it's hard because sometimes people are a bit afraid of it. So sometimes talent want to have a bit more life in the shed. But we've talked about launching certain shows at like 10:45 and then bringing them earlier. Stuff like Miranda that have made that journey from BBC Two to BBC One. So there's a lot of pressure. But we've got Mr. Winner coming up, who's Spencer Jones, who's someone we saw here 2 years ago. Yeah. So that risk on new talent to go, he's got a mainstream sensibility. So it's about spirit and attitude and sensibility rather than, we will only ever commission big name talent.
Okay. Could your next hit be found in Scarborough?
Oh,
yes.
Link. Scarborough. Yes, we've got Darren Litton, who's spent, he's been at Benidorm for 10 years on and off. Yeah. So he has written a lovely thing. It's an ensemble comedy. People like Stephanie Cole, Catherine Kelly, Jason Manford, set in Scarborough, and it's the life around a sort of a pub, a karaoke night, hairdressers, and it's a real world piece. And it's Darren sort of does brilliant everyday, working class, quite camp. It's really, really fun piece. And we've got a clip, I think. And up until yesterday, because we haven't done any talent deals, I think we were going to have to pixelate the faces, but we're okay to show you this unpixelated.
Here we are, here is Scarborough. What slot is that going to play?
That's going to be a big 9:30 job, isn't it? Right. Hopefully,
yeah.
Secured that in public.
Yeah.
You've had it
signed here.
Effectively signed. Is there a comedy scheduling sweet spot for BBC One, or is it a bit luck of the draw?
Do you know what you look at, and then people try and do that, Mrs. Brown's Boys was a big hit, so let's do another big studio piece, and it doesn't really ever, there's no formula. The next big hit was two people in a car on the way back. I remember when Peter pitched it, he went, it's going to sound shite, you got to trust me. It's two people in a car, and they're just talking, and then they come back from work, and you go, and you don't know who the other person is. She's my mate Shan, so you've got to trust me. So it's like, turned out she was brilliant, they co-wrote it, and I think on one you are looking for things that sort of can be a bit more family friendly. So a couple of other pieces are Ghosts that are coming up from the Horrible Histories team. It's about these ghosts who inhabit a country pile, and these people buy the house, and it's about how they all interact together and cohabit. So yeah, trying to find things that you can hopefully has a bit of warmth and a bit of heart to it, that, you know, intergenerational. I remember all my happy family memories were watching things like Still Open All Hours with Granny and Grandad and Mum and Dad. And that's more the one thing. But within that, there are some, like the Martin Clunes Warren piece that's got quite a strong flavour to it as well. So.
Okay. For comedy producers who are in the room, is there anything in particular that you are looking for, that you feel you're missing, or you're like, I mean, obviously you're always on the hunt.
We talk about pre-Watershed a bit. We talk about that sweet spot maybe on an early Saturday evening, and stuff that can play pre-9. That's something we really want to try and build on. And hopefully with the series Goes Wrong People, that's something we can explore there.
Okay.
But no, it's it's not that thing where you go, we have to have the biggest name talent. It's got to be a vehicle for Ricky Gervais, whoever. It's all about the writing and all about the ideas. So what hasn't been done before, a lot of it will be families, but what's the family, what's that take on family that we haven't seen? So the one other thing to announce today is a thing called King Gary, which is Tom Davis's first fully scripted sitcom. And that's about basically his family. He's from South London, quite working class family, and it's about his relationship with his dad. It's Tom. I don't know if you know Tom, but he's a lovely, lovable big buffoon. So it's really warm, but it's very modern as well in its voice and references.
And I must ask you as well, any recommendations for things to see in the festival? I mean, you must have been inundated with, come see me. Yeah, but, what are you hearing is best for these people tonight?
Oh, my God. Jesus. There's a lot of weird and wonderful stuff here. This is where we saw Fleabag about 4 years ago. So those stories do happen. People like Colin Burns. Oh, it's really hard because then you'll get 500 pictures from the people you mentioned. So go. It's
see it all.
This is the lifeblood. It's brilliant, isn't it?
Okay. I've heard Six, the musical, is very good. Stephen Bailey, very marvellous. Okay, thank you so much. Shane. Now, a final piece of our controller session jigsaw comes in the shape of entertainment. We all want BBC One to have a strong entertainment slate. So here to tell us about entertainment on BBC One is controller of entertainment commissioning, Kate Phillips.
One kiss is all it takes. Falling in love with me. Possibilities.
Nice T-shirt.
Hello,
Kate.
hi everyone.
Yes, the season is almost upon us, isn't it? I know. I am
They're
positively
rehearsing today.
frothing with excitement. But in the role now for 2 years, Kate, right in the swing of it, enjoying it.
Very much. It is the best job in the world. It really is. Yeah.
Excellent. In the opening reel, though, we saw All Together Now, which rated well, had positive critical feedback, recommissioned as well. Obviously, a great mix of the bonkers and experimental there with Jerry. I mean, that was inspired, and Rob Beckett there. Must be very satisfying and pleasing for your team to have nurtured, new homegrown format there, which is a success.
It is, and it's the sort of Saturday night battle is a story all in itself. And we, like Charlotte said, when we lost the voice, it was a great opportunity to try new things. But we always want ideas that are distinctive. And when that was pitched to me by James and Don to Rachel and I from Remarkable, just that strap line that you haven't got a panel of judges, you've got 100 judges. And I just thought, well, how does that work? And so you're immediately hooked in. And then we did a pilot of it. We wanted to try new talent hosting it. We were very excited by Rob Beckett. We felt a stand-up comic in that role was really good, interacting with the 100 of the contestants. And Charlotte and her team were really supportive, and we all liked it and said, let's go for it. And that is the biggest thrill. And it was recorded in Manchester. And 18 months ago, you have an idea on a piece of paper, and then you're in Dock 10 watching this fantastic show with this set and this audience. And it's like we've just done The Greatest Dancer in Birmingham, and we do All Round to Mrs. Brown's in Scotland, and we do lots in London. That's the best thing about entertainment, is an idea you've had on paper, you then see in front of a huge audience, and you see people just loving it and connecting with it. It's great.
Obviously, jewel in your entertainment crown is very much Strictly, but you mentioned there, mining for more dancing success, The Greatest Dancer.
Yes.
All we know, well, I know so far, Alicia Dixon, Jordan Banjo presenting. You've got Queen Oti Mabuse, Matthew Morrison, and Cheryl, is it Cole, is it Tweedy? We can't quite decide yet. As your dance coaches and your panel there. It's a Psycho production, I believe, with you.
Psycho Thames.
Psycho Thames. Sam McCall, what more can you tell us about it? I know you're very excited about this.
I am. I mean, we're always looking for big shows for Saturday night, and I really wanted to do a real people dance show. I just felt, Strictly is amazing, but, it's celebrities, and we have a certain age range on Strictly, and I wanted to sort of go younger, go older, and have real people. So I talked to Charlotte and her team about it, and they thought it sounded interesting, so we put the call out to indies, got some great ideas in, piloted our 2 favourite, and from that we went with Psycho Thames. And I think what Charlotte was saying at the beginning, and she's right, is that in entertainment we do get quite a lot of self-censoring. We do get ideas where people feel that's a BBC idea and that ticks that box. And of course, because Psycho Thames haven't made anything for us before in entertainment, the pilot was just like, literally, you were just sort of sitting back as you watched it going, God, they really bought it. And it was so energetic and joyous and full on, and we were very excited about it. So I went to Birmingham about almost 2 weeks ago now, and they did the audition shows. The first few shows are pre-recorded and then we'll go live, and it was just fantastic. It was proper hairs on your arms going up. It was
very
fantastic.
exciting. I'm interested to know actually, do you share, do you hang out a lot, you lot? Do you share, you lot? Can I call you that? I'm never working again. Do you share ideas between each other? I mean, obviously you're going to be talking to Charlotte.
Alison loves entertainment, and Alison loves Strictly, so I always get the calls from Alison each year about, right, this is who you should book. So we have those conversations, which is very good. And Shane and I literally sit a desk away, and then Piers is about 2 more desks away. So yeah, we do talk a lot. Yeah. We know what we're all doing.
Alison's very jealous of me because I'm Charlotte's favourite.
Yeah, that's right. The favourite child.
The nickname for me is FedEx because comedy always delivers.
Is that? Is that true, Charlotte?
He's known as the FedEx.
Yeah. Read her face.
Yeah. Piers, how are you feeling about that? You just keep it a bit quiet now. Piers is going to.
I was trying to say something sensible.
It's
been brilliant for me to have Rose. Rose deserves a mention. Rose Garnett, who's the new director of BBC Films, and she gave me the manuscript to Sally Rooney's new novel, Normal People, which we've announced today we're making for BBC Three. And I think there is a greater interchange. I was literally just pitching something to Shane before we came on.
On the side of the stage. Yes.
So we definitely think that's the great thing about the collaboration between the genres and the channels, actually, is we're all sharing talent. We're talking about ideas that might work for another channel or indeed a different genre.
If you're a writer, you don't just want to write half an hour comedy or an hour-long drama. You want to do a bit of everything. And we can offer a kind of one-stop shop.
We use different... Shane's used Rachel, I've used people from Shane's team.
But Rose, who started with BBC Films as well, has been a brilliant sort of addition to that we don't see BBC Films as over there. It's very much
you are a team.
Because we know a lot of talent think, I'd love to make my first feature film. So having that kind of collaboration and that conversation that we can sort of plot out for people as well is really working.
Yeah. Okay, Kate, you've got Saturday night, your main slot. You tried the Button and Generation game on Friday and Sunday. Yeah. Sort of lots of questions into one. Have you got plans to continue entertainment in those slots, or is Saturday night your main slot? And what are you after?
I would never say sort of don't think about slots when you bring us ideas, because when we had something like the Button in, at the time we didn't really have the sort of slot or the need for it, but Charlotte and I just really liked it and really wanted to give it a go. So we're always open to ideas across the board. Sunday nights, I'm always badgering Charlotte to give me more slots because of entertainment. But yeah, we're up for trying on Fridays and Sundays definitely. And we've got new shows in production at the moment for early evening Saturday nights. A couple of new quizzes, one called The Time It Takes with Joe Lycett and Alison Hammond, and one called Catch Point with Paddy McGuinness. And they're all in production at the moment. And then we're looking, so for Saturdays, just so you'll know, we're looking at 2020 now, which I know feels an age away, but actually it really does take about 18 months from an idea coming in paper or tape to then developing it, then piloting it, lessons learned from the pilot, and then going to series. So we've commissioned our big shows for 2019. We've probably got a couple of sort of early evening Saturday night slots still. They tend to be from Scotland. That's our sort of nation spenders there. And then 2020, we definitely are looking for big ideas at the moment and talking to Charlotte and the team about some. So get those in soon, actually, because we would want to pilot those sort of later this year.
Okay, any advice any of you have for anyone pitching to you over the next couple of months to sort of round up what you're looking for, or any do's and don'ts, or Anything you'd like
Surprise
to add?
us, be bold.
Yes.
Don't just think, oh, it worked before. So really, really, please go out on a limb and tell us your best idea that makes you really excited.
Yeah, I think for me it's a good idea. It can come from anywhere. It can come from a novel. It can come from a play. You know, I think that there's a really good examples of how people can take an idea, as Michaela Cole did with Chewing Gum, which started as a play and it then became a comedy. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities for people to take their ideas and run with them.
I think for BBC One, it's such a big, broad channel and it attracts a broad audience. So sometimes people pitch stuff for the audience as though they're over there. For me, the measure is always pitch something you'd want to watch. Do you want to be sitting on your sofa as part of the audience enjoying it? I just think that's a good question that we should all be asking ourselves.
Yeah, brilliant.
We do 2 questions with everything, interrogate them of where's it set, can it not be set in London again, what's the part of the world we haven't seen, and what's the diversity story within this project.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I think in entertainment it's creating the world and the format. It's really hard with entertainment to land a new format, so to get something where it feels distinctive with a strong USP at the begining, and I think a bit like Alison was saying, it's a world you want to be in. So in all the entertainment shows we do, you know, I want to be in the ballroom, I want to be, you know, with Cheryl and Cole, The Greatest Dancer, all our other shows like Dragon's Den, or I'd love to have a crack in the den, or Top Gear, I want to be in that hangar. It's that world you create that people can sort of go into and escape.
Fantastic.
Everyday life. In a crack den, yes, Shane, that's the
Did
title.
you just say that? And there's a
I said
great note
Dragon's
to
Den as well,
end
you
things.
know.
And that'll be what everybody reports. We really have run out of time. I think we can all agree that with listening to the people on the stage and you, all the producers in the room, that the future of BBC One is in safe hands. Please give a round of applause to Charlotte Moore and her top team, Piers Wenger, Alison Kirkham, Shane Allen and Kate Phillips. Thanks very much. Thank you.